Yes, 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 yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is D-Backs Academy, Cover 2 Podcast. Want to definitely give a shout out to my guy Marv over here. Definitely been a big plus. I actually want to give a shout out to my guy Walker right here as well, Kevin Walker.
Appreciate you, man. Shout out.
You know, I didn't get a chance last time. We had the first episode. We talked about Leandre Washington and what he was doing, his progress with the NBA and basketball as well. But I wanted to properly and thoroughly introduce what DBA podcast is. DBA Cover 2 Podcast, right? So it's a long name, but the whole premise of DBA Cover 2 Podcast is, I always like to say, sports therapy. And what I mean by that is we deal with a lot of, and I know Walt could tell you, I deal with a lot of parents, uncles, brothers, who always ask questions about what is and how and what should I do at the end of the day. And I think a lot of times we don't get this information, right? So DBA podcast for me, reason why I did it is because I get a lot, like I said before, a lot of student athletes, a lot of people who are in the sports world who want to know what's the best way or what's the guide. The best way I could describe this is if you go to Barnes & Nobles and you go How to Play Pool for Idiots, you know them little yellow books or one of them little things. And no, like I said, no one's an idiot, but the dynamic of it is we don't have sometimes the details and the information. So like I said, once again, DBA Podcast is something where it's giving you more sports therapy, what we're going through, me as a trainer, me as a coach and a former teacher, Walk as a person who's been involved in so many different walks of sports, and as a father that he is, like I said, and just starting off, and I want to ask Walk, how did he feel about last week and what he thought about everything?
I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I thought the way how you handled the podcast, you handled it like you've been doing it for years.
First time.
I mean, I thought I was very, very impressed.
Yeah.
The way how you interviewed, I'm sorry.
Leandre,
Dre. The way how you interviewed him, how comfortable he was talking to you and opening up. I think that's very, very important when you bring somebody on your show. To make them feel comfortable, because sometimes you could ask questions and people be like, "Whoa, like why are you asking me that?" And I think I'm bad with names.
That's okay, Dre.
I think he handled it very well. He answered every question that you asked him. Especially when he was talking about like his mom and how she, all about education. I thought that was pretty cool. And he explained how he saw his dad working crazy hours and still, had enough energy and time and love, to take him wherever he needed to go to be great. And I think that's very important when you have two parents that, sacrifice everything for you, and you see that, like, wow, my parents is really.
It motivates you.
Yeah,
it motivates
you. I could tell it motivates him to be great in sports, and not even sports. The kid graduated from college. He did. A lot of athletes don't. I'm not saying a lot of athletes don't do that, but their mindset is like, I'm gonna go to the pros.
No, you're right. You're right.
Like he stayed in college and graduated, and I think that's a huge accomplishment.
No, it's big. It's big, and he did graduate with a business degree as well. Mm-hmm. I could always say when I graduated Crayon 101, and you can't really go too far with Crayon 101. But this is the dynamic of new media, right? I know Draymond Green talks about that, and he talks about old media and new media, and we're just gonna kind of drift into the state of the culture of what this is. And new media that I've seen is literally athletes like ourselves, actually black men like ourselves, getting the opportunity to speak to the platform. And what's your take on this whole? Have you been following Draymond Green and Skip Bayless and all that, or have you seen that yet?
I follow Skip Bayless only because of Shannon Sharp. I'm a huge Shannon Sharp has me on my Skip. Come on, like I love Shannon Sharp. But I haven't really followed Draymond, but I heard good things about his podcast.
Yes. Just to give you a follow-up on what Draymond kind of said with Skip. He said this is a man who's made his career out of bashing one person. And that one person is LeBron James. Like, he literally from the beginning, and like I said, this is his opinion as well. He literally from the beginning started from LeBron James' early career all the way to now, which is year 20. Nothing really as positive, but really kind of getting into. And I know Draymond's, has the voice and he's speaking for the athlete now. How do you feel about old media or per se characters kind of leeching onto athlete and kind of not really talking about the game, but just talking about the personalities of it?
Well, to go back and talk about what Draymond said about Skip always bashing LeBron, like I agree, but I also disagree. Because at first I said, like, yo, why Skip always hating on LeBron?
Yeah.
But Skip also, he be coming at other athletes too.
Okay.
But I know LeBron is his number one target.
That's his kryptonite.
Yeah, right.
He's in love.
Right.
He's in love.
It's his number one target. But
that is definitely waiting to exhale right there.
Right.
He's an angry wife.
Right.
He's an angry wife.
But I feel, at first I used to think, like, is he racist? He don't like black athletes. But when I actually sat back and looked at the whole big picture, I think that he expects LeBron to be great. That's why he's so critical of him.
Yeah.
And at first I used to think, like, I remember when he criticized LeBron. I think it was the playoffs when Miami came back and beat the Spurs, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, but look at all the turnovers he had, and he missed so many shots." And then Shannon was like, "You realize that LeBron didn't score like the last how many points? They wouldn't even been in that position, for Ray Allen to even make that shot."
Yeah, agree.
And a lot of times I'll be thinking, why does Skip always he always starts from where LeBron makes maybe 2 or 3 mistakes, but he never brings up the part when if LeBron didn't drop the first 20 points or if he didn't dish off that assist, none of this would have happened.
No.
And sometimes that's an issue I have with him, but then I also think maybe he expects so much of him not to make a mistake, and
it's the curse
and
of
that's
Jordan.
not reality. You're gonna make mistakes.
No, I agree. It's the curse of the Michael Jordan era, because we saw Michael Jordan, so we have this mythical figure, and even if you were a Knicks fan or not, you always remember Michael Jordan doing something spectacular. And I think a lot of times we like to box athletes in because it's easier for the common person to say, I identify this person with this. I think with Skip, he's thinking of a landscape of he saw Michael Jordan in the raw, and Michael wouldn't do this. It's almost like we said, that ex-wife who's comparing her $1 million husband and then the guy who works at plumbing department, and that check is different.
It's way different.
When I used to go out, we bought for everybody. Like, hold on, I only got one check. I just paid my rent.
Right, and this time we're going to the buffet. We're not going to the steakhouse.
My cat got diabetes. I can't really do this today, young lady. So it's a different dynamic, and like we've talked about with my cat got diabetes. That's crazy, but that's a whole different story one time. But I think for Skip, like you said, and I don't know why I said Skip like Shannon, but I think for Skip, the biggest thing is hopefully, like you said, he just doesn't focus on LeBron and continue. Like, he goes to other people, and you're right.
He goes to other
but
people.
He's in love with Tim Tebow. He's in love with other people.
Oh, my God. Tim Tebow, of all people. Tim Tebow was terrible in football.
5-yard pass. 5-yard pass. But just kind of getting out of that aspect, the state
you also forgot Tom Brady. Tom Brady is his man.
Tom Brady is his high school crush. But the state of, like we said, the state of new media and old media, and Draymond and the JJ Redick podcast is something that's
I never paid attention to.
It's actually really good.
I got off of social media. Not seriously.
No, that's smart. That's smart.
I really deleted all my stuff. Because I felt like I wasn't focusing on what I needed to do.
Yes.
Like, for example, I finished writing a children's book 2 years ago.
Oh, please plug your children's book real quick.
It's called Ryan and the Magic Paintbrush.
Yep.
It is on Amazon Kindle for right now. Once I get things in order, I will definitely be having it. Try to have it in all type of stores, Barnes and Nobles, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
And I also finished writing a comic book. It's called If These Trees Can Talk. It's about African American slave who gained supernatural abilities from an ancient tree.
Yes, it's copyright, right?
Yes,
okay. I don't want nobody coming up with a BET version next to
Trust me.
Lifetime, and Bobby Brown is the African American slave. I just can see it right now. Bobby's dancing. I hope that's not his powers.
Trust me.
Please, I hope that's not Bobby Brown's powers. For that.
Trust me. It's
we don't need more dancing people.
And his mission is that the tree tells him that I need you to stop this. I don't like to say cult, but you might as well call them that. Called the Red Hood.
Yeah.
Now the Red Hood is like this church. That believes that if they could get a hand of Satan's armor, that they could.
So it's a spiritual.
Right. It's like a spiritual type thing.
You're giving a lot of details right
sorry.
here. We don't want to give out too many.
Too much.
Because they already got the book. We're going to make sure make sure you get that book, please.
But no, it's not out yet. It's like,
coming. It's coming
because I want to have 3 parts to it. So I'm still working on part 2.
So we wait for it because we're going to do it like how rappers do. It's coming out in 32, 100, and I got bars. But no, my biggest thing, like we said, and then kind of gearing towards, and I love what you do as an entrepreneur. Speaking more or less with the JJ Redick and speaking into entrepreneurs, he's a former Hooper, NBA player, Dookie, whatever it may be. You know, I'm a Duke fan, but I know people don't like Duke.
Lord
but
have mercy.
He's a former Dookie, and
Duke is like the Patriots of college basketball.
It definitely is. It definitely is. But he's one of those, and Jay Williams got me into Duke. I'm a huge fan of Jay Williams. I saw him live actually in high school when I was young. I saw him live.
St. Joe's Metuchen,
number 32. He was strong arming people, and he reminded me of a Steph Marbury type guard. Look, I'm drifting to the hoops, but he reminded me of Steph Marbury type guard because he had that size. He was like 190 in high school.
So that's big for a guard.
And he get to the bucket and he would finish, right? So I was always a fan of. He was preppy, but he was still had a little gangster to him, and he had a little street ball to him. But, you know, needless to say, for JJ Redick, I love the fact that JJ Redick, and he's not a huge personality. He's not Stephen A. Smith where he's loud or he's giving you different energy, but he's monotone. He's very, very low-key kind of voice, but you learn. You know, I call him, and new media really started from Kobe Bryant, from the details at ESPN. When Kobe was doing details and really talking about teaching aspects, I think that Kobe Bryant tree kind of branched out to what Gilbert Arenas is doing and to what All the Smoke, what Barnes is doing and Stack is doing. You see a lot of people now, a lot of athletes giving up their goods, you know, especially if they're done. And even now when they're playing, kind of giving you the details of what is the ins and outs and what is the free fall the pitch that you don't want to do. And kind of like gearing towards that with JJ Redick, like I said before, he's teaching the platform, he's communicating it, and it's pretty dope. And you should check that out. And that's not a paid sponsor, but that's something I think and the Gilbert Arenas is actually the best one. Because for a lot of hoopers, and I'm still learning, right? For a lot of hoopers, if you really want to know how to learn the game, Gilbert Arenas, even though he has the antics that people don't agree with, he teaches the game in a format where, you know what, a lot of times people just give you the apple when it's raw. He can cut it up. He can skin the apple. He can make applesauce where everybody can digest. And I always tell athletes, and especially hoopers, do you know how to average 20 points? And then they go, no, I don't. And I go, all you need is a three-pointer and a layup every quarter. And that was taught to me. And when I learned that, it taught me how to start doing other things in the game, right? So drifting onto that, and like I said, the person who taught me that.
I'm sorry for cutting you. That's crazy how you said that. You need a three-pointer
and a layup.
You said every quarter?
Every quarter.
And if you think about it, you even got to go,
you don't have to go crazy.
About, I know me as a former basketball player, you be like down one, drop 20. Yeah. And you going hard trying to get it, burn out all that energy. And now it's like, damn, all you need is a layup.
Being efficient.
Being efficient.
John Stockton, one of the most efficient, talented athletes who knew he had a Carmelo great. He said, you know what, I might take 12 shots. And those 12 shots, he's got 18 points or he got to the free throw line. So, you know, a lot of times, and we talk about sports, and we don't talk about sports in that detail, breaking it up into applesauce, right? And that goes for the trainers nowadays. So if people don't know, I work with NFL trainers. I work with I work with NFL players, and I've worked with NBA players as well. I've done internships in California, in San Francisco. Chameleon X, one of my guys. You know, I call him Uncle Frank, but he works with a lot of players.
Is that the brother that works with the Lakers? He trains the Lakers with the ball?
No, he actually he has his own entity. He actually deals with and this goes into what the G League kind of did. The G League it really took from him, and you know, he's cool with it. But what he did was, especially high school players like the Brandon Jennings athlete who, you know, doesn't want to go to college because he has to take care of his family.
Right.
Instead of going overseas where you're in foreign land, you might not be ready for that. He would take the kid who's you got to be a top 5 guy because this is no distractions. He would take the kid and he would prepare them for the pros. And because he works with pros, he has former NFL GMs, former NBA GMs, former NBA coaches, and NBA trainers in his facility. And it's such a great idea because he always says, you know what, in order for me to be ready for the NBA, I have to be in an NBA environment. College is never going to prepare you for NBA. It can give you a platform to go, but when I'm in middle school, I'm not really prepared for high school. It's not high school. I have to literally be in the fire in order to be prepared, right? So the biggest thing he talked about was making sure the athletes got a leg up, worked on their body, their mental, which we always talk about sports therapy. It's been a tough one because he's done well. He had a few. The kid Marjan, I think, who went to the Bucks. He was number 24th pick, but
he just got drafted.
He just got drafted. Right, that was one of his guys. He actually helped him out a lot. And the biggest thing, like I said, when you are working as a lone wolf, which is his claim sometimes, you get a lot of people who are going to take those ideas. And the NBA is a conglomerate. It's a huge billion, trillion-dollar business. And they took it with the G League. What you have to be careful with the G League is that people think these guys make a lot of money. These guys are making like $20,000 to $30,000.
Yeah,
right?
I always thought that they was making enough that they could at least live. I didn't realize it was that low.
They're not making enough. But if this is a dream, you get an opportunity where you can bet on yourself, right? So you know what? Play in the G League or substitute at a high school. Same amount, but let me get this opportunity where I play ball.
I can play ball.
So I think that's a plus. But going into trainers, recently, I was dealing with the kid and dealing with another athlete where they talked about how a lot of times trainers, and especially football trainers, everybody has these certain prices and you know, they give you these details on sometimes it might feel like it's just a sample and they're not giving enough. They just have them doing different things, but it's not helping them in their game. You know, the state, and from what you know, from a person who's looking on the outside or whatever it may be, what have you seen from the Instagram trainers and the social media trainers that sometimes you go,
For first, I'm gonna talk about you, because when I first saw you, a couple of your clips, I was like, yo, Walker's really teaching what's that player, Peppers?
Yeah, Peppers.
How to really get his hips right. I was and me personally, I don't really know too much about football, but I know because you know my best friend. Shout out to Warren Lucy. He's a big football.
Yeah, Warren's my guy.
And he was teaching, and I learned from him watching. You know, I'm a basketball guy. But when I first saw Peppers play in the NFL, he used to get cooked. I'm just like, yo, like I said, I'm no disrespect to him.
I'm sure he knows.
Like he used to get cooked. Like, and I'm like, okay, what happened to the dude in Michigan who was looking? When he was in the NFL, he used to look cooked. And then when I saw how you used to train him. And there was a couple other athletes because he used to walk around with their helmets on in your videos.
Yeah, so I had him, and I call it the COVID year because it was one of those things.
Right,
well,
it was the COVID year, right? That's right.
It was one of those. It was one of those things where all we had to do was just lock in. It was it's already COVID, so we're already dealing with a negative, right? So the mental focus and just being prepared for our bodies, our mental and spiritually, you just had to lock in. So it was Peppers. It was Darnay Holmes. I had a few guys from the Giants come in and out. Like I said, I've had Xavier, and then I was working recently with Slay from the Eagles. But with Peppers, and you made great points about what happened to this guy from Michigan. It goes back to all the way from high school. It's a gift and it's a curse how blessed he is as a Bugatti, right? He is a Bugatti, but like anything. You can't put a Bugatti in a racetrack, or you can't put a Bugatti in a school zone. It's going to go slower than it really is. It's not going to be able to develop. And a lot of times with Peppers, I think for him, because he was so talented, they had him at so many different positions.
Right.
You never got a chance to master. And one thing I love about Bruce Lee, you know what I'm saying? Of course, you have to be like water, but you have to master your craft
Even
as well.
in college, they had them all over
They had them all. They used them. And this is where I'll talk about the state of college, but they used him to the point where I felt like when he first started, he was playing corner. And then, it frustrated him. I think he got hurt, and then he had the red shirt. But,
didn't they also have him, playing receiver? Or
they had him playing receiver, running back,
he was
and it was great. And if they're trying to say, well, Charles Woodson did, yes, but Charles Woodson had a year of just playing cornerback. You know what I'm saying? He had a year of just fine-tuning. And it's important in college. Matter of fact, it's important in midget football. Who are your developers? I deal with a lot of guys in midget football who would ask questions, and I say, first and foremost, you have to teach these guys that you got to properly learn how to tackle. You can't these little babies are throwing their heads in there. And I pray every day that someone doesn't get hurt, especially around the area that I know. But properly tackling. And what I like to say is if you don't know how to tackle, then go into mixed martial arts, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's probably one of the great things. And, you know, a lot of times going to wrestling, going to these different sports where you can use your body, yoga, Pilates, those things are really, really important because a lot of times in football and even in basketball, you're in uncomfortable positions where your shoulder and your arm is reaching this way, guys pulling you here, and you got to tackle. And if your body's not used to that, you're getting out of place or you get injured. But with Peppers, and you made a great point, I think because he was so talented, they had him at so many different places that there was no discipline to one craft. And when I remember what I worked with him and how everything kind of blew up was I just kept saying, I'm going to train him like a corner. You know, and this is where my advantage of playing arena football is because the game is so much faster. Kurt Warner actually changed the game of football as well, but the game is so much faster because you have to get rid of the ball, right? So as a DB, if I know there's a clock, I know that this receiver can't run a certain route. He can't give me a Cooper Kupp 5 yards slant, go out. No, you can't give me that because I know, look, at certain points, there's a guy who's 6'4" and runs a 4.3 DN coming to your quarterback. I know I have an outside linebacker who's helping me inside or who might drop back and help me out in the middle. So I want to position myself, and this is the things where knowing your landscape. I always say, know the green that you're in, right? So if I'm close to the sidelines, I call it sideline Sally, make sure that helps you out. But if I'm in the middle, I don't really have that much help because the guy behind me has to worry about deep. So with Peppers, man, and like I said, I hope to get back with him. You know, I know he's with the Patriots, and I think highly of him. I know he's busy, and you know, there's people in his corner where they're making sure he's okay. He comes from a spiritual family. I think for him, he's with the Patriots. They're gonna put him in the right situation. I think I don't want him to stunt his growth. If I can tell him anything, don't stunt your growth. Continue to get better as a peddler, as a person who knows the game. I think the McCourty twins, if they're still there, they're going to get on his ass and make sure that he's accountable.
Yeah, the McCourty twins, I'm big fans of them, man.
And just having stability. I think being with the Browns and even with the Giants, you know, you had a young quarterback, and the time that they almost made it to the playoffs, you know, the quarterback was turnover machine. Turnover machine. So, you know, that is something where, you know, I hope he puts it together. But kind of the state of trainers, what were you saying? Like you said, just from your social media and you seeing trainers. Yeah, what have you seen that kind of?
I have seen, like I said, I don't want to say no names because, you know, I don't want to put their business out there.
That's okay.
And I have seen a couple of clips of these trainers, like really like, I felt like they half, I don't want to curse.
Half-ass.
Right, I feel like they half-assing some of these athletes.
Yeah.
You know, and then you put up your prices, and your prices is outrageous, and some of these kids can't even afford it. Yes. So how do you expect these kids to get the best out of their ability if you're charging them something crazy per hour or, I don't know, per session?
Yes.
And you're not even, like, it was this one trainer, he had this kid doing some type of, he had the tire, and then he had him doing something.
Yeah.
And then he tells him to run here and run here. I'm thinking, I said, that don't even look right. You have him pushing this heavy-ass tire. Then you're telling him to run these 40-yard sprint and then come back and do this. I'm just like, come on, fam.
Now,
like, that ain't me. And I'm not a trainer, but just looking at that, it's like, where's he getting better at?
I even hate using, like, trainer for me because a trainer, I always like to say a trainer their focus is making sure they get that money, that bottom line. So they'll train anyone. I kind of consider myself as more or less I'm still a student in the game, but I'm just teaching my information, right? And if you want this, and I test kids, and I test adults, you want to work with me, 5 a.m. It's always that, you know, that karate movie where the guy's like, I see you in the woods, in the snow. And he's like, what? I'm in California, sir. So it's just, you kind of like to give him that test to go, like, how bad do you want it? Because how serious do you want it? Because for me, I can't want it as much as you want it. At the end of the day, this is your journey, and I always speak of that. And gearing towards that, a lot of trainers do that stuff thinking, I feel better if this guy is flat on the ground and burnt out. And it doesn't work that way.
That doesn't make it doesn't work.
And that's not how you should train.
Right.
The biggest thing is if I'm dealing with a football player, I do not need to beat up their body during the off season. Reason being is because their body gets beaten up during the season. So, you know what? Let's work on certain situations of if they're weak in the hips. Let's improve that. Their mobility, flexibility. These are things that for me, I go, all right, Guy needs to get faster. Okay, cool. Well, if he needs to get faster, why do I have him doing 6 miles? And like you said, the tiring and back and forth. Okay, cool. But is that for endurance or is that just for the TV or for the video?
I feel like that is for the video.
Yeah.
It's like, come
and
on.
It's kind of gearing towards what Gilbert Arenas said. You have these guys where they go to the NBA. They're used to shooting 40, 50 shots, but they're probably more spot-up guys. If I'm playing with a LeBron, this is where Westbrook and LeBron had issues. If I'm playing with LeBron, I know that for me, I'm probably going to be a spot-up shooter, right? So I need to know where my spots are, either in the corner, side of the wing of the three-pointer, So for me, if I know I just moved to the Lakers on with the Lakers, I need the whole time during the offseason, I need to work on my spot-up jump shot. And that's what I think someone should have told Westbrook. Yes, you are extremely great and all that, but you have to work on your spot-up jump shot.
And his spot-up jump shot is in the left side of the corner.
And Westbrook struggles, especially to the left, especially to that pull-up. Now, Westbrook, I'm a fan of his free throw pull-up game. I was a fan of that early on, 2012, 2013, where he'll speed up and he'll stop and pull up. But for him,
that kind of went away.
That went away. I think he's kind of given too much of the bulk rather than still mobility and being flexible. But like I said, I don't want to get into. I'm a huge Westbrook fan, and hopefully he gets where together and gets happy and healthy. And he's still, like I said, he was the third or fourth option. The game plan was for AD to be healthy. It was not for Westbrook to.
Dude, man. And that dude he could sneeze and he'd be out for like 6 months. My God.
Well, you know what he said about it? He hasn't touched the basketball, right?
And that's sad because it's like, I felt personally, he doesn't care enough.
Okay. Do you feel like he was taken out of context, or
no?
Because I know sometimes with old media and new media, we could take things out of context.
It's just like, I just feel like he doesn't care enough.
Okay.
Because I feel like if you know that your history, you're constantly injured, don't you think you should do something differently?
Yeah.
Don't you think, okay, maybe I need to train differently, or maybe I need to eat differently?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he doesn't care, especially when he won the chip. I feel like, okay, I got this ring, I'm good.
Well,
I just feel like he don't care.
And it even goes back to maybe he got what he needed. You know, he fulfilled his life. I mean, you get to the NBA now, you're making 30, 40 million, or the money or whatever that you didn't expect to make. Maybe this is something where he just said, hey, you know what? I'm okay in life. My family's okay.
This shouldn't be like, I mean, me personally,
yes.
If I had that much talent and that much ability, I'm trying to get better and better. Especially when you got the media calling you soft. Yeah. They saying, are you this, you that. Me, that will bother me. Yeah. That make me feel a certain type of way. If I got people calling me soft and I don't care and I ain't got no energy and it really will burn in me. Like, yo, they really talking crazy about me.
Agreed. This goes back to old media, like we talked about. Instead of the media helping out and saying, hey, you need to train like X, Y, and Z, like we spoke on. When you're saying he's soft, when you're saying he's not good or he's just X, Y, and Z as a player, and it kind of attacks the person more than the athlete, and not you per se, but like you said, it will bother you. And then this is where we talk about sports therapy. Not everyone is equipped to handle that type of critique.
And I definitely agree.
Not everyone's equipped. I mean, have you ever had a coach where you just felt like, dude, just talk to me instead of yelling?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My high school coach. He made me feel like I was Charlie Brown,
son. My God.
What? Bro, like, I felt like all 4 years of high school was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. And all I needed him to do was, like, tell me what I need to do to get better. Yeah. And then when I actually put in an effort, like, really go hard, I felt like it was never good enough.
I'll give you the experience on the other side as a coach, all right? Because, and I always call it abuse, because it was a learned behavior. And I dealt with a high school coach who was not just mentally abusive, but he was physical, right? And he would grab you up and, he would, whatever the dynamic, nothing that a Lifetime episode would warrant, but it was something crazy. But I was on the impression that is the way you're supposed to coach, right? Yell at the kid, you got to do this and do that. I was wrong. And I had to correct myself. And I was wrong to the point where when I went out to intern in the West Coast with my guy, Frank, for Chameleon BX, but he taught me things of life: adapt, overcome, and achieve. And that if you can't force anybody, right? You're not going to be able to teach until the person is ready to learn. And when I came back home, I came back with a lot of peace because it was stressing me out to yell and do all the X, Y, Z. And I remember a former athlete of mine. I saw him. I saw him at a party. This is when I know I was coaching young, and he was feeling no pain. I could tell, when somebody want to size you up.
Right.
And I said, "Damn, man, my knee hurt. I'm not ready for this." And he was looking at me. And he was like, when you get older, you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to grab him up. But he looked at me and he was angry. And I remember coming up to him and I said, "I apologize." I was like, "Dude, I apologize." And the energy that he had, the anger, he was like, you could tell, like it went somewhere else. And I told him that, and I said I was wrong, because he was like, "What?" I said, "I was wrong because that's the way I was being coached, and that's not the way you coach people. What I should have done is took you to the side, right, first and foremost, and he said, you have the abilities to be great. Now, what do you want to do with it?"
Right.
And this is where we talk about AD. If we had his ability, he needs that person or that developer, which I think they have in Phil Handy, 94 feet, shout out. But
that's why I thought you was talking about Jermaine and Kelly.
Oh, no, Phil Handy. Yeah. I would love to intern with him and learn from him. But I feel like he needs that guy. And LeBron is spiritually connected like that too as well, where, you know what, AD? Man, I've been through that. You know what? Let's start with working with your feet first, because if that's the injury, anything starts from the bottom up, right? Let's work with the strength. Before we can go explosive lifts, we still have to have a base of strength work, right? Single leg squats. So, and I'm going into detail where I talk with a lot of kids about, but, when I saw that young man who I felt like, you know what? I don't remember what I said, but in football, it's very passionate, it's very physical, and a lot of times, coaches and athletes and parents, we're all in the game, right? I had to apologize, and this was more or less for me showing my growth. And every time I see him now, he smiles, shows love, and that's where I was like, you know what? I'm on an apology tour. Right. How many people I need to know? So it just was one of those things where I look at it like, dude, we've been through coaches who mentally don't know what they're doing, or maybe do, but it doesn't sit well because it's a form of just abuse, generational abuse, right? But going to like we said, the state of the trainers. There's a few trainers where I admire and I respect. A guy named Rashad Phillips, they call him Yoda, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's on Instagram as well. He's a basketball mind where he teaches the game. DJ Sackman, I think his name is. He's local. He's in Jersey. He's a basketball mind where he teaches the game, and he worked with my brother a couple times, and I was just in awe because he detailed. It was almost like a book, encyclopedia. In terms of trainers and coaches, I have a guy who works with me, Coach Lawrence Adhill, who works with me as a track coach because I work with track and speed and all that. He teaches the game brilliant. He's actually a scientist, legit scientist, and he gives the ins and outs on why certain foot placement, why you're moving like this. He's brilliant in that aspect. There's a few other guys, and I'm missing a beat, but I think even my guy Ryan Grant, even though he doesn't consider himself a trainer, he's a person where he's been in the game, played in the NFL, played for Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. He always gives me ins and outs, especially when I'm, trying to make sure Juwan is okay with Green Bay. Ryan has been a big help, and I think that the sports trainer nowadays, it's more or less, and Chris Johnson, matter of fact, I actually just saw a podcast with him and Gilbert Arenas. Chris Johnson said something that was pretty big, talking about the mental aspect, because everyone's physically gifted when you get to that next level. Mentally, are you gifted, right? And it's not like
and that goes in life in general.
That goes in life in general.
Right.
That goes in. You can be on a date with a girl and 5 minutes in, you like, oh man, did we just go to this expensive restaurant?
Right, yeah, you like, I ain't really got.
Damn, I gotta pay for gratuity.
Yeah,
oh,
Jesus
damn,
Christ.
Is that a new chicken? No.
She want a dessert too.
She want dessert. She licking her fingers and ready to. Yeah. No, come on, man. But yeah, don't worry, I drift a little. But the biggest thing he talked about was the mental aspect, and he spoke on the Ben Simmons, right? And transition to Ben Simmons, people were saying, is he soft or not? And so. He just answered it by, well, one, and Gilbert Arenas said this too, you can't be soft if you're first team all defensive player, which means you have to take the matchup of the best player around. Now, what people don't know is Ben Simmons has been dealing with the offslide of things from the family issues, from his sister to his brother, and that dialogue that I'm not going to get into, but also, like we talked about the coach. Was Doc Rivers wrong for saying when they asked him, "Can you win with Ben Simmons?"
I think when Doc and Embiid threw him under the bus, I think that was wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and I know he had a bad playoffs.
Yes.
But you don't throw him under the bus like that, man. You know, and I think that was foul with what Doc and Embiid did. And then when they try to embrace him, he's like, "Nah, I'm good."
It's tough. It's tough.
Like, I'm good.
It's
man.
tough because now, and just if people aren't aware of it, they asked Doc Rivers, "Can you win with Ben Simmons as your lead point guard?" And Doc Rivers, in the heat of the moment, understood. Goes, "Well, that's an answer that I don't know. I can't answer that." And like I said, I'm not going word for word, but at the end of the day, I need for you at this moment, Coach. I need for you to have my back.
And he didn't have his back.
And then you got a guy like Embiid where he's childish. He's talented,
very childish.
but he still has to grow. From the social media, from the Twitter and all that.
Kicking his back in.
And this is where the Westbrook aspect is. You can't ask Westbrook to be one thing, and then when it comes to the playoffs, you need him to do this now because it's hard. So what they asked Ben Simmons to be in the playoffs, of course, was to be the scorer. But the whole year you had him be Magic Johnson and be a facilitator, you know. But you had no jump shooters and X, Y, and Z. Now you're asking him to score. Now, granted, of course, if you're 7'3" and you're near the rim, shoot the ball.
Yeah, instead of passing it, right.
But this is where the sports therapy and the mental capacity comes into play. My biggest thing in you being a father, you know, how would you, in going about it, how would you go with coaching? In terms of, is it hard to coach your son? Would it be easier to send him to certain spots, or what is it as a parent aspect from the parent side?
I always told myself,
yeah,
I will never force my kids to play sports.
Okay, yeah.
Because I feel like if you force them, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And trust me, I want my son to play so bad because he's 6 years old. He's tall.
Yeah.
He got the long arms. So I'm thinking like, yo, you know what I'm saying? He's a little quick on his feet.
Let me head to the bank real quick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, and I try to always tell him, hey, listen, you want to go shoot basketball? No, I want to go play with my friends in the park. And that's normal for a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah, it is.
So I try to do everything I can to influence him. I'll sit down, watch a little clip of LeBron or whatever on YouTube. He'll watch it for 2 minutes and he'll be out. Yeah. But I always told myself I'm not going to force him.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't care.
Why is that? Why not force him? Have you been forced or what?
No. I was never forced. You know, like I started loving basketball when I saw Mike play and when I saw Charles Barkley play, especially Charles Barkley. Yeah. I was like, he's 6'4" and doing that. So I want to do that. Yeah. And then, you know, that's when I started loving the game. So my parents never forced me. My dad never forced me. And I felt like I told myself I wouldn't care. And my son said, Dad, I want to be a ballerina. I said, you know what? You be the best that you want to be.
You better go on. I'm gonna have a poster. I'm gonna be hood with it.
Right. Because
I don't care.
Because I feel like as long as he's not in the streets.
I'm have a T-shirt with a suit on there.
Facts.
We're gonna come ready. We're gonna bring Auntie in there.
I don't care as long as my son is not in the streets keeping me and his mother up. I'm good with that.
Amen. No, I dig. You know, even playing on that. One thing I could say, and shout out to my pops, my dad, Raymond Todd Walker. He never forced me. He never and he was a star city athlete in his town, and we couldn't go anywhere without talking about his football career. But he always made it organic, where he just said, "Hey, you know, whatever you want to do."
Right.
And it was actually peaceful because going into the sport, I didn't have to look behind my back
right. You have to have
and
that
be nervous at 8 years old, thinking about I got to feed my family. I had one kid one time. He had to be 8 or 9 years old. And I always ask kids, why do you want to do this? And he's like, I got to feed my family. And I took a step back. I said, look, my man. And I said it right in front of Pops. You ain't got to feed nobody right now. Now, I understand if you have goals to take mom and dad and put them in better situations if they're not. But that type of pressure, your brain is still developing, and that's something that's a stress.
Yeah, you're too young to be thinking like that.
Feed your family. What, you work at Home Depot right now?
At
like
9 years old?
Clock in then if you got to feed your family, bro. But that was something where I felt kind of bad. Now, did he come back? No, they didn't come back because I was being honest with them. And, you know, I kind of told the kid and I told the parent, like, when I got the kid, he was burnt out. He was doing track, football, soccer, baseball. And I was like, look, he's going to get an injury because he's not allowing his body to recover. And the dad looked at me like, how dare you? But then I had to explain to the dad, and this is where new media, I'm coming from a person who was burnt out.
Right.
Like,
and I've been there.
I've been there. And think about it. And this is for everyone who feels burnt out right now. The greatest so-called athlete ever or basketball player ever, Michael Jordan, retired 3 times. He retired 3 times. He was burnt out.
Burnt out.
He was burnt out. So, you know, the biggest thing is, how do you get your love back? That is a way, and that comes from mental. You know what I'm saying? Like he said when he retired the first time, I'm just not into it. He lost his father. You know that. And imagine Michael Jordan and him losing his father and retiring with social media nowadays, with a Skip Bayless.
Oh yeah, he would have.
With a Stephen A. Smith.
He would have. I don't know. Like, would they have attacked him for that? I mean, because retiring because your father got murdered. Would they have attacked him?
And that's a great question. Would they have attacked Michael Jordan if he would have retired like that? Because at the end of the day, Magic and Bird were out of the league. You know what I'm saying? They dealt with this situation. Mike was the face and was the money. He was the money ball.
Still in his prime, too.
So if Mike is making money for everyone, now that money, that cash cow is gone, I'm sure somebody in the media felt some type of way. And then even if you look at the 30 for 30 with the baseball thing, Mike was actually getting better. Sports Illustrated made like a article where have Mike swinging and missing, killing his confidence.
Right.
But I thought that was a ploy for him to go right into the NBA because they wanted to kill it. Now you never know. Mike would have changed baseball in its diversity game because still baseball is not diverse as much as we think it is. There are not too many young black and brown Americans. Now you go to the Latino culture, that's big, but still, the whole point of diversity is include all, right? So that's something that's a whole different topic. But going to the culture, the state of culture of sports, what would you say from the landscape? How is sports today? What would you say is the state of the culture for sports?
State of the culture in sports.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's
You almost gave me a Skip Bayless side, by the way. Like I felt like it was a lot of smoke. You were like,
you mean all sports or this?
Every sport, because we talk about sports here. We talk about football as well, and I always say we talk about sports therapy. But the state of the culture for sports, what would you say, like an example of the tennis aspect, where
it's not enough of us.
It's not enough.
But then you also gotta say is in our culture, are we being pushed to play tennis?
No.
That's the thing.
No, we're not.
In our culture, it's just football and basketball.
Yeah.
Like, we dominate football and basketball.
No, of course.
So it's like, are we being pushed to play soccer? Are we being pushed to play tennis or baseball? Yeah. In our culture, it's just basketball and football.
And that goes to I'm looking for, that's where a lot of recreations need to step up and don't go off of what they see by the melanin or the complexion and make it diverse. Cricket is something that I learned from the Jamaican culture where I thought was big. But, like we talked about the state of the culture, I want to kind of gear off and just kind of keep at the sports therapy aspect. We talked about the mental capacity. I think for us, I would like to see more sports therapists and more platforms. It's just as much as there's hotlines. I like to see more platforms for that. What would you say is a good thing for sports therapy, and why is it needed? Just give me like a short rendition.
It's needed because it is a lot of athletes out there that suffer from depression. I don't care. It's true. Yeah. They suffer from it, and they handle it in a different way. Like some of them might drink, be abusive or whatever, but they suffer from it.
No.
Just like you said, when you're constantly beating up on somebody's personality on TV, that affects you.
That does affect you. That does affect you.
So I think it's very, very important for at least, I think it should be mandatory that you have to speak to a therapist at least once or twice a week. That should be in their contract.
Agree.
Owners need to put that in the contract. No, you got to go speak to somebody.
No, agree. Artest contract. We call it Artest therapy.
I really think that should be in their contract.
No, and just to kind of follow up and finish up and just kind of closing argument with sports therapy, it's important. And like I said, we can't mask things with alcohol. I know the NBA, a lot of champagne and all X, Y, and Z and Budweiser commercials with the NFL. And you can't mask it with marijuana. Marijuana is something that it's a healing process. But if I'm trying to accomplish this goal, it also it relaxes you too much and you lose that fire. So I try to tell a lot of athletes out there, yes, understand, stay focused, stay locked in. And if you do those things, do it in certain balance, right? There's a yin and yang. And I go to ABCs. You know what I'm saying? A is for academics, B is for balance, and C is for character. And it's important that you get those 3 phases in. But I wanna thank my guy, Marvelous Marv, right there in the back.
Always, man.
I feel like it's a DJ with Run DMC right now. I wanna thank my guy Kevin Walker, man. This is a big plus,
Always. bro.
Definitely.
Always,
Much respect.
man.
And this is DBA Podcast, DBA Cover 2 Podcast. I'm Brian Walker, your host. And like I said, I want to give a shout out to my brother, Nedick. Rest in peace. We had a celebration for him in Brooklyn. And inshallah, God willing, I hope everything is right. And appreciate you guys. Have a good day.